Welcome to part 8 of our class, Developing Others. We're going to focus this particular part of the class, rather than development, we're going to focus it on change and managing change because we know that in most organizations, sustainability is not something that is taken as a priority. Most organizations need significant changes in order to become more sustainable and to reduce their negative environmental impacts. And so as an environmental manager, you're going to be managing change, and as an environmental leader, you're going to be leading change. So it's important to understand how it happens and what can happen as a result of change within an organization. So change is a label under which we put all things we have to do differently in the future. It's the delta. Charles Darwin says that it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And this is very true with organizations as it is with individuals. There are four major types of change in the workplace: the structure, tasks, technology, and people. Structure is simply the way in which the relationships are structured, the functions are structured. The tasks are the processes that go on, the technology that's used, and the people that are part of the organization. There are generally three different types of responses to change. Executive management, top management, tends to feel isolated. Middle management tends to feel squeezed, and frontline employees tend to be resistant if its change is not led properly. Top management may underestimate the impact of the change on the lower levels of the organization because they're isolated. They may expect employees to go along with the change and may blame middle managers if people resist or complain. And they may be insulated to the point of not knowing the actual results of their decisions, and this is just a function of their position and their particular leadership. Middle management, on the other hand, feels pressure to implement the organizational change, but they often lack information and direction in implementing that change, and they may feel squeezed between resistant subordinates and demanding supervisors or demanding top. Frontline employees generally have a lot of fear. They may feel threatened by changes announced by management. They may respond with resistance because they don't know what the impact is going to be on their day-to-day lives. And they may shut down and show a lack of willingness because it's just overwhelming to them, and they perceive it as a direct attack on self. Gandhi stated that if you would change the world, you must be the way you want the world to be. So this really is a very profound statement because its implications are that we have to change our behaviors and our thoughts and our attitudes before we can change our external systems and structures. So we have 7 rules that should guide leaders in all change efforts. These are pretty good guidance. The first one is to have a good reason for making a change. Will the change support the organization's mission, purpose, and goals? And does it reflect the organization's basic principles and core values, or are we veering away from our credo? Second is to personalize the change. Let people know where you stand as a leader, and let each individual know how they will be affected if the change is successful or if it fails. This also is tied into why the change is important. So each person needs to understand why the change is important to them and how it's going to affect them. And this can be framed in terms of what they stand to gain or lose, costs or benefits of the change. The third principle is to implement change thoughtfully. The first part of this is to involve the people who will be affected by the change and go slow, giving people time to adjust. People have different times, different adaptation rates, and so everyone is going to need a different amount of time to adjust. The leader can keep people informed through constant personal communication and be available for questions or concerns. Number 4 is to put a respected person in charge of coordinating the change. And this is really important because you build trust this way, and people are very fearful of change. And so you need to select someone who's trusted by all and have that person you lead transition teams to plan, coordinate, communicate change effects and make them visible, and provide training and skills to everyone who's going to be affected by the change and who needs to support the change. 5, tell the truth. Give facts and rationale. Don't sugarcoat it. Let people know exactly what's going on. If it's not working, tell people it's not working. If it is working, it's working. Let people come to terms with the negative feelings so they can focus on the future. You have to allow time for emotional processing. 6 is waiting patiently for results. It does take time to realize benefits from change, and the larger the organization, generally the longer it's going to take, because the higher the degree of complexity of the change. Change is too rapid can be destructive. An organization can come apart. This is what happens with many smaller organizations. Process can reduce the results or even prevent the result. Number 7 is acknowledge and reward people. Take time to recognize people and show appreciation, and let them know you're aware of the struggles and sacrifices and contributions people have made. Let them know that you are aware of how tough. So if we want to process for major change, we can describe it in these areas. The first step is to, this is from Cotter, establish a sense of urgency. Again, this may not be, because this is business oriented, you may not want to examine the market, you may want to examine the external environment and the environmental impacts. And you can identify and discuss crises, potential crises or opportunities. After you've identified that sense of urgency, you put together a group with enough power to lead the change, work together as a team through training. Third is to develop a vision and strategy. The vision is essential because it guides the overall effort, and it directs the individual teams as well as the others who support those teams, and provides strategies. Fourth is communicating the change vision, using every vehicle possible to get it out there. Let people know what the new vision and strategies are. Have the guiding coalition and the other leaders in the organization role model the behavior expected of employees, the new behavior. 5 is removing obstacles. Get rid of the obstacles that stand in your way. Change the systems or structures or technologies that undermine the change vision. Encourage risk-taking and non-traditional ideas and activities and actions. And this getting rid of obstacles may mean getting rid of people who are too resistant to change. If they just absolutely refuse to change and they will not move ahead with the organization, then maybe they need to leave. 6 is generating short-term wins. Plan for visible improvements in performance, and creating those wins. Allow people to feel a sense of accomplishment, and recognizing and reward people who made those wins possible. Let people know that you're aware that they're making an effort. 7 is consolidating gains and producing more change, using increased credibility to change all systems, structures, and policies that don't fit together. Make sure that everything is aligned, and then making sure that you've got people in there who can implement the change vision. People who are aligned, whose values are consonant with those of the organization. Reinvigorating the process with new projects and keeping it going. Finally, anchoring the new approaches is creating better performance through customer-oriented. Well, this could be true of stakeholder-oriented behavior or more environmentally friendly behavior. The idea is to have more and better leadership and get the leadership out there as a driving force to anchor the new approaches, and more effective management to remove obstacles. And really, the leader's job is to establish clear connections between new behaviors and organizational success, and also developing means to ensure that leadership development is taking place and there is a clear line of succession. There's really a set of common errors. This happened over and over again. These errors are, first, allowing too much complacency, not creating enough sense of urgency, failing to create a sufficiently powerful guiding coalition. The guiding coalition does not have access to the resources necessary, and they don't embody the values of the change. They underestimate the power of a vision, allowing people to underestimate it or not communicating it clearly. And this is a result many times of just a factor of 10 or more of under-communicating and just not letting people know exactly what it's all about and why it's so powerful. The fifth is permitting obstacles to block the new vision, allowing things to remain in place that are hindering it, even if they seem insignificant. Failing to create short-term wins and declaring victory too soon are two areas that leaders can address directly through the guiding coalition. Neglecting to anchor changes firmly in the corporate culture is important because this really prevents the backward momentum from. And so what we need to do is empower people to effect change, communicate a clear, compelling vision to employees, make the new structures compatible with the vision, and provide the training and the skills that employees need to make the vision happen. Align the information and personnel systems to the vision, including rewards and the information needed for the new types of decisions. And confront supervisors who undercut the needed change. Again, these people might just be too resistant. They could not understand what's going on. Allow them a chance to understand, several chances, but if they refuse to change, then maybe they need to leave the organization. Resilience is key. The resilience in each individual is very personal. As William James says, the greatest discovery in our generation is that human beings, by changing the inner attitudes of their minds, can change the outer aspects of their lives. So the key to adapting to change is to adopt a new set of attitudes, a new set of beliefs, and to reframe your world in terms of the new vision. St. Francis' prayer, this is a very common one. Give us the serenity to accept what cannot be changed, courage to change what should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish one from the other. This is a very wise and knowing approach to change, and that leaders really need to take this on, and they really need to understand the difference between the two areas: what can be changed, what cannot be changed, and what needs to be let go of, what needs to be adopted, and understanding the difference between those two. There are many books on how to prevent burnout, how to handle change in your life. These are some of them. I recommend all of them. They're all very good. And so if you're interested in handling change or you're feeling burned out, these might be some good ones to read. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A thread. Otherwise, we will see you on the class shell.